Heartwarming turnaround. 5 minutes after cuffing a black woman, officers reveal amazing change. Ella had just finished a grueling shift at the diner. She rushed toward her car, her heart racing with love and fatigue in equal measure. Sam, her 10-year-old son, and Maya, her bright-eyed 7-year-old daughter, awaited her in the back seat. During their drive home, laughter spilled through the air, mixing with the echoing sounds of honking and street vendors in their bustling Atlanta neighborhood. But the serenity shattered suddenly when flashing lights danced outside her rearview mirror. "Mom, what's happening?" Sam's small voice trembled. "Stay calm, babies. Just a routine stop," she assured them, though knots twisted in her stomach. The officers approached, faces stoic and serious. Before Ella could say anything, a rush of confusion descended. Officer Mark, rugged and regretful, caught her gaze, but his partner's voice drowned out her protests. In an instant, she was cuffed, cold metal biting into her wrists. Sam's innocent eyes widened, and Maya gasped, rising in her seat, disbelief etched across their faces. The world stopped as they cried out, "Mom, no!" Panic erupted in the community, neighbors pouring out of their homes, phones raised like torches, capturing every moment. "What did she do?" one murmured, casting a sideways glance filled with unspoken bias. But others shouted in support, echoing Ella's resilience, demanding to know why their beloved neighbor was being treated like a criminal. Ella built her life serving them, mentoring kids after school, organizing charity events, lifting spirits. This was a mother, not a villain. Each neighbor's voice gathered like storm clouds above. They weren't just witnesses, they were her family. Officer Mark wrestled internally, grappling with the realization that the woman he decuffed was someone who had tirelessly fought for change. He had seen Ella transform lives in their community center. This stunning realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. Could he have been wrong? As they rushed to remove the cuffs just minutes later, Ella's heart ached for her children. The relief faded into thin air as they stared up at her with tears brimming in their eyes. Officer Mark, now a man standing at a crossroads, witnessed the heartbreak he never meant to cause. He couldn't shake the feeling that today's events could thrust Ella's family further into despair. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Supported by neighbors demanding accountability, the community took shape, rallying behind a single mother who dreamt of better. Stories flowed like melted butter through the air at an emergency town hall. People shared, reflecting on how Ella's unwavering spirit lifted them through their own struggles. The room buzzed with anticipation as tensions grew. Would Ella open herself up to redemption? As she faced Officer Mark across the room, he swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Hearts held their breath, the air thick with unspoken hope. Would she trust him after all that had happened? The answer hung in the balance, as did the transformative power of their shared humanity. Ella stood frozen, the weight of the moment pressing down on her like a heavy blanket. The room seemed to close in around her, voices fading into a dull roar. She could hear her heart pounding in her ears, drowning out everything else. Officer Mark stepped closer, the desperation in his eyes unmistakable. "Please, I know I messed up," he said, the tension stretching between them. He looked like a man walking a tightrope, unsure of where he would land. Ella crossed her arms tightly, feeling the raw energy in the room. Her community, her family, all gathered in one place to support her. She could feel their eyes on her, full of concern and solidarity, but there was also a sense of helplessness. "Why should I trust you?" Ella's voice was steady but laced with emotional weight. She had fought battles her whole life, faced judgment and prejudice time and again. Would this moment be another humiliating defeat, or could it lead to something greater? Mark took a deep breath, glancing around at the murmuring crowd that had once felt like an audience but now seemed like a collective force pushing him toward honesty. "I never wanted this to happen," he continued, his voice cracking slightly under the stress. "I let the uniform cloud my judgment. I didn't see you, I just saw a statistic." The confession hung in the air, heavy and charged. Ella felt the room shift. Around her, people were nodding, bringing their own experiences into focus, moments when they had felt unseen or misunderstood. They shared a deep, common thread, woven tightly through the fabric of their community. "I don't want to be just another statistic, officer," Ella replied, drawing strength from the warm, resolute faces surrounding her. "I want to be a voice. I want my children to see the world as a place where justice lives and fairness reigns." Mark took another step closer, vulnerability etched across his face. "I want to help. I want to change," he said, intensity radiating from his gaze. "Can we do it together? Can we take a real step toward improving this?" Ella searched his expression, weighing his sincerity against the backdrop of fear that lingered in her heart. She didn't want to open the door to disappointment, yet there was a flicker of hope sparking within. The possibility of change, of a connection formed in the ashes of misunderstanding, ignited something in her. "Change can't come from just one side," she finally said. "It needs to be a partnership. A real effort." The room erupted in whispers, people breaking the silence with murmurs of agreement. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, an opportunity to grow together rather than fight against each other. Mark nodded, determination written on his face. "Then let us start something new. Let us work together to make this community better." Ella felt a rush of warmth, tentative but encouraging. She opened her heart, allowing a glimmer of trust to bubble to the surface. Maybe this was the beginning. But just as they were about to ground their plans, a loud crash echoed from outside. The doors burst open, and a young man rushed in, panting, a look of terror across his face. "You won't believe what just happened there." South trouble at the park. Shock washed over the crowd, the new hope suddenly overwhelming with uncertainty. Ella's heart raced again. What trouble could it be? What challenge lurked just beyond? The growing tension in the room felt like a prelude to a storm. Would they be able to keep their fragile alliance intact, or would this new crisis put everything at risk? Ella's heart thudded loudly in her chest as the young man's words sank in. A ripple of anxiety spread through the crowd, people exchanging worried glances. The energy in the room shifted, hope was swiftly overshadowed by fear and uncertainty. "What kind of trouble?" Ella managed to say, her voice edged with concern. The young man leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. "A group of kids are arguing at the park. It looks like it might get violent. Some of them are from our neighborhood, the ones we were just talking about." Mark's posture tensed. "I'll handle it," he said decisively. The determination in his eyes was palpable, the glimmer of their earlier negotiation threatened by the urgency at hand. "Wait!" Ella interjected, catching his arm, her voice rising above the anxious murmurs in the room. "We just agreed to work together. We can't let it fall apart now." Mark paused, his blue eyes searching hers. He took in the crowd, their faces taut with concern, eager for answers. Ella could feel the weight of their expectations resting on both of them. "Okay," he said slowly, the tension easing slightly in his fists. "But we need to act fast. We can't let this escalate." Ella nodded, drawing from the strength of the community surrounding them. "Then let us go together. You can't solve this alone. They need to see that we are united, not divided." Reluctantly, Mark agreed. "All right, let us move. But we stick together, no matter what." As they burst through the doors, the air felt electric, charged with uncertainty. Ella's heart raced not just from trepidation but with the responsibility weighing on her shoulders. This was a chance to show their community that hope wasn't just a fragile word, it could become action. The park loomed ahead, and the sounds of shouting grew louder. They hurried closer, Ella holding her breath as she caught sight of a group of teens, the tension palpable like a tightrope threatening to snap. A few skateboarders were trying to break up a fight between two younger boys. "Hey!" Ella called out, her voice ringing with authority. "Everyone, stop!" The teenagers turned towards her, confusion washing over their faces. Mark stepped beside her, and they became a united front, an embodiment of change, of hope standing against violence. At that moment, Ella realized how much was at stake. This wasn't just about her, it was about the community raising their voices together. She felt the eyes of those behind her, the families, the supporters as they filtered in behind, gathering strength. Mark started to speak, his voice calm yet firm. "This isn't how we solve things. We have more in common than we realize. Let us start talking." To her surprise, the anger refracted, several voices echoing back in hesitant agreement. But just as Ella sensed a breakthrough, a shrill scream sliced through the air, intensifying the chaos. A child had fallen to the ground, crying out. The mood changed in an instant. With tears streaming down the child's face, the little boy looked up at Ella, desperation in his eyes. "I want my mom." Ella's heart twisted. This was the raw emotion they needed, a reminder of vulnerability, of love, of home. She stepped forward, kneeling beside the child, feeling suddenly alive with purpose. "It's okay, sweetie," she soothed, her voice gentle, "we're all here. We'll find your mom together." As she comforted the boy, the crowd began to settle, confused anger melting into tentative willingness to listen. What came next would determine everything. Could they stem this tide of chaos? Could they meet the moment, and if they did, what would it mean for the future? With their fragile alliance hinging on the next steps, Ella felt the world around her waiting. She took a deep breath, wondering if they were truly ready to change everything. The child's sobs echoed in the sudden quiet that fell over the park. Ella held him close, feeling his small body tremble against her. It was as if the world had slowed down to this singular moment, one voice, one child, demanding attention. She glanced around, meeting the eyes of Mark and the gathered crowd. They were frozen, caught between their emotions and the chaos that had just teetered on the edge of violence. "Let us all take a step back," Mark said, his voice steady but low, as if speaking too loudly would shatter this delicate connection. "Everyone, just breathe for a moment." Ella felt the boy's breath steadying against her shoulder, and slowly, the words seeped into the crowd. Some of the older teenagers pulled away from their earlier arguments, glancing at each other with uncertainty. A few of the skateboarders set down their boards, looking back with expressions that shifted from aggression to confusion, then hope. "Where's your mom?" Ella gently asked the boy, wiping a few stray tears from his cheeks. He pointed into the crowd, where a woman was frantically searching, her face a mask of worry. "Over there," he gasped. The moment felt electric, as Ella caught sight of the mother's anxious eyes locking onto her child. "I see her," Ella smiled, her heart finding rhythm again. "Let us go, okay?" With a firm grip, Ella encouraged the boy to his feet. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, his expression shifting from despair to slight determination. She moved toward the mother, who was rushing forward. The crowd parted, the tension releasing like air from a balloon. "Mom!" the boy shouted, breaking into a run. Ella watched as the mother fell to her knees, enveloping her child in an embrace so full of relief it pulsed like a heartbeat. Mark stepped closer to Ella, watching the reunion with a blend of pride and astonishment. "You did that," he said quietly, awe in his voice. "You brought them back together." But even in that moment of triumph, Ella could sense the undercurrents swirling around them. The remaining teens were still eyeing each other, the heat of anger and frustration lingering in the air. Despite having averted one crisis, they were just steps away from igniting yet another. "Everyone!" Ella called again, raising her voice just enough to carry over the whispers and murmurs. "I know we can do this together. Let us talk. If we don't, we'll just be back in the same place tomorrow." A few reluctant heads nodded, the air heavy with contemplation. Mark took a step forward, standing tall beside her. "Let us share what we're feeling. Talk it out. We're all part of this community, and we deserve to hear each other." The crowd shifted, uncertainty still hanging thick, but something had changed. They had seen a moment of connection, an example of how love could bridge even the deepest divides. As the conversations began, fragile threads of empathy started to weave between them. The teens slowly moved closer, their voices rising in occasional agreement or dispute. Ella felt hope flicker, but it was quickly overtaken by a sudden sense of dread. The weight of change rested heavily on her shoulders. Just then, a loud crash shattered the tentative peace, a sign of a new fight erupting at the edge of the park. Ella's heart sank. Had they really achieved anything? Or was hope just a temporary reprieve from chaos? The fluttering anxiety surged again, but amidst it, Ella held on to the belief that there was still a way forward. "We have to go there," she shouted to Mark, as the crowd began to part in confusion once more. With her chest tightening, she raced toward the latest threat, knowing that what they had started here was at risk of falling apart. Could they face this next hurdle and emerge stronger? Or would the cycle repeat itself, draining their courage step by step? Ella's heart raced as she sprinted toward the sound of chaos, the shouts and curses spilling into the air like a storm brewing just overhead. She could see a small group gathered, body language charged with anger, fists clenched tightly at their sides. "Mark, we need to keep them from breaking apart," she called over her shoulder, not waiting for a response. She felt a strange mix of fear and determination pumping through her veins. This was not how it was supposed to go. She had thought just maybe, after that moment with the boy and his mother, they'd found some common ground. They reached the edge of the gathering, and Ella pushed her way through to see two boys, neither older than 17, squared off against each other. Their faces were flushed, the anger palpable. The crowd around them buzzed, a mix of jeers and encouragement, their adrenaline feeding into the intensity. "Hey!" Ella shouted, trying to cut through the noise. "Stop! You don't need to do this." Neither boy seemed to hear her. They were too lost in their own fury, fists raised and ready. Around them, the crowd tensed, as if they were watching a simmering pot prepared to boil over. Mark found her side, positioning himself to confront the boys. "We can talk about this," he said, his voice steady, but she could feel the urgency thrumming beneath the surface. "It doesn't have to come to fighting." The taller boy let out a snort, his eyes narrowing. "What do you know?" he shouted. "You don't have any idea what we're dealing with." Ella felt the weight behind those words. The anger was more than just about a stupid argument. It was about circumstances, about life feeling unfair. "I do understand," she said, her voice softer but firm. "We all feel pushed to a breaking point sometimes. But violence won't change anything for the better." The boy faltered, his fist loosening ever so slightly. Something flickered in his expression. Uncertainty. She had their attention. The other boy hesitated too, glancing around at the crowd. They weren't just watching, they were hopeful too, wanting a different outcome. "Look, I know it seems hopeless sometimes," Ella continued. "But fighting each other only takes away from what we can accomplish together. We can be stronger if we support each other, not tear each other down." A murmur broke out among the crowd. It was full of yes and no, but there was a shift, a crack in the wall of hostility. Ella felt hope rising, the tension beginning to dissipate like the morning fog lifting under the sun. But before they could take a step forward, a loud voice rang out from the back of the crowd. "Enough of this. You want to fight, then let us settle it like men. A stocky figure pushed his way to the front, eyes alight with a thrill for confrontation. Instantly, the atmosphere shifted again, darker this time, inflaming the moment. Look what you've started, he accused, pointing to Ella and Mark. The situation was spiraling out of control, and she could feel the tension snapping, threatening to unleash chaos. We didn't come here to fight, Mark countered, standing his ground. We want to find a better way. But the stocky figure just laughed, clearly reveling in the chaos he was about to stir. A knot formed in Ella's stomach. She didn't know what to do next, but she couldn't let this moment unravel. Everyone, listen, Ella shouted, desperation creeping into her tone. This isn't just about you two. It's about all of us. If we keep letting anger lead us, we'll lose what really matters, our community. She searched the faces in the crowd, willing one of them to catch her eye, to stand with her and Mark. There had to be others who could see what was happening. Just then, she noticed a girl stepping forward from the back of the crowd. Her heart skipped a beat. What would she say? Would her voice carry enough weight to turn the tide? Ella held her breath, waiting for the girl's words to break through the turmoil, as the air thickened with both fear and possibility. Could this be the moment when everything shifted? Would they choose unity, or would chaos reign again? The girl stepped up, her eyes shining with a blend of determination and fear. Ella could see her inhaling deeply, gathering every ounce of courage she possessed. It was a moment that felt suspended in time, as if the whole world paused to listen to what she would say. Wait! The girl called out, her voice trembling at first but growing stronger. We can't keep fighting like this. Look around you. We're supposed to be friends, not enemies. Ella felt her heart swell, an overwhelming wave of support washing over her. She sensed the mood subtly changing, even as the stocky figure's scornful glare weighed on them. Each of the boys exchanged glances, taken aback by this unexpected interruption. The girl pressed on, what are we proving by tearing each other apart? Don't you see, this anger only gives power to those who want to keep us divided? Her voice echoed through the crowd, igniting murmurs of agreement. As the crowd buzzed with this new energy, Mark took a step closer to the boys, keeping his hands open. She's right. We're all dealing with tough things. That doesn't mean we have to take it out on each other. The taller boy's fists began to lower, uncertainty clouding his features. Ella felt a surge of hope, yet the threat from the stocky figure loomed still. He glared at the girl, anger simmering below the surface. Shut up. You don't know anything. He spat, his voice rising as he tried to regain control. But the crowd wasn't swayed. Ella watched as whispers of camaraderie rippled through, like a current of electricity that could spark change. Maybe we do need to hear it, Ella spoke up, softly but firmly, stepping forward to stand with the girl. Sometimes it's easier to fight than to face our problems. But we can break that cycle together. The girl nodded, her resolve shining through. If we keep fighting, we'll all lose. But if we can talk, if we can share what hurts us, we might find a way to heal. Mark looked at the boys, his eyes steady and inviting, encouraging dialogue instead of more hostility. You don't have to let this define who you are. Each choice you make can lead to something better, he urged, appealing to the common sense of brotherhood. The other boy, still on edge but wavering, glanced at the taller boy. They exchanged looks filled with questions, doubt, and a hint of desire for a different path. That was when the stocky figure leaned in closer, a sneer plastered on his face. You think it's that easy? You think just standing there and talking will solve anything? Ella felt the knot in her stomach tighten yet again. She steeled herself. Yes, it might not be easy, but it's a start. We're here because we care. Do you? It was the hesitation on his face that made Ella's heart ache. Was he capable of change? Was he too far gone? She wanted to reach out to him too, but her courage was tested all over again. Just then, someone from the back of the crowd stepped forward, a boy she recognized from school. He looked just as nervous but equally determined. "I want to give this a shot too. We can all feel what's wrong." Ella's breath caught, wondering if this was just the beginning. Could this moment truly transform what had been brewing beneath the surface? As more voices joined in, Ella felt the vulnerability mix with hope in the air. And yet, with every voice, she sensed that they were still balancing on the edge, ready to tip either way. Would they rise to the call of unity, or would the anger consume them? The question hung there, pulsating in the tense air. Ella searched the crowd, anxious for their response, praying they wouldn't fall back into old habits, but instead forge a new path for themselves and for their community. The murmurs grew louder, almost like waves crashing against a shore. Ella watched as the crowd slowly turned their attention away from the stocky figure, their faces filled with curiosity, uncertainty, and a flicker of hope. It was a delicate moment, and she could feel it hanging in the air. Then, as if emboldened by the growing chorus of voices, the other boy took another step forward. "Listen, I've been angry too. We've all been hurt. But fighting isn't the answer. We need to find common ground," he said, his voice steadier now, resonating with truth. Ella felt her heartbeat quicken. Could this be it? Was this the turn they'd all been waiting for? She looked to the girl beside her, who was visibly vibrating with excitement. Their eyes connected, and in that fleeting moment, it felt as if they shared an unspoken bond of courage. The stocky boy clenched his jaw, clearly struggling internally, but even he couldn't ignore the ripple of sentiment spreading through the crowd. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, glancing at his friends, the taller boy and another who had been quieter until now. They were looking at him with mixed expressions: concern, disbelief, and a tinge of hope. "Why?" the stocky boy finally asked, shaking his head in disbelief. "Why would you want to talk? Haven't you seen what has happened? This is just how it is." Ella took a deep breath, willing herself to be brave. "Because we want something different. We want to understand what's hurting us all. Isn't that worth it? Isn't what we feel worth talking about?" The crowd grew quiet, the weight of her words pressing down on each of them. Tension surged, but so did a kind of clarity. Who would step forward next? Would anyone else join in? A girl from the back took a hesitant step forward, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been bullied before. I'm tired of being afraid. We all want to feel safe. This fighting isn't making us safe." Her confession had a ripple effect, igniting other voices. One by one, others began sharing their experiences, tales of fear, misunderstanding, and deep sorrow. Ella felt a surge of empathy weaving through the air. Each voice built on the last, forming a patchwork of shared experience that turned something raw into something real. In that moment, Ella realized the power of vulnerability. The air was thick with emotion, yet it sparked a light in the depths of despair. She could see it quite clearly now: the strength in unity, the insistence on healing. She even glimpsed that same flicker of humanity in the stocky boy's expression, as if slowly cracking open to the possibility of connection. But just as things began to shift, the original turmoil of anger flickered back in. The tall boy who had been silent until now suddenly made a loud noise, breaking the deepening connection. "This is stupid. You really think we can fix everything just with words? You're all delusional." Gasps echoed around the crowd. Ella's heart sank. She had hoped they were moving toward understanding, but this was a real setback. Tensions rose as the voices that had just begun to harmonize were now splitting apart yet again. As emotions bubbled and tensions threatened to spew forth, Ella questioned whether what they had built was fragile enough to collapse once more, creating barriers and fear within each of them. Would they find a way back together? The crowd wavered, caught between rising hope and the haunting echo of doubt. Ella's heart pounded in her chest as she looked at the stocky boy, surprise mingling with unease. Was this truly the beginning of something transformative, or was it slipping through their fingers once again? The air hung heavy, as if waiting for a storm. Ella's heart raced, the tension around her palpable. The crowd had divided, the voices of hope fading against the loud jeers from the taller boy. Ella felt like she was standing on a precipice, teetering between despair and possibility. "Stop!" she shouted, surprising even herself. The crowd fell silent, eyes darting toward her. In that moment, Ella realized she wasn't just speaking for herself, but for everyone who craved connection, for everyone suffocated by the fear of being misunderstood. "Can't we just try?" The stocky boy looked at her, eyebrows furrowed as if he was weighing her words against every hurt he'd ever felt. The tension in his shoulders eased, if only slightly. He wasn't alone in his struggle, neither was she. They were all tangled in this shared experience. The taller boy scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Words don't change anything. We need to stand up for ourselves. Not sit around, talking." An audible groan echoed from the crowd. The girl beside Ella bit her lip, clearly nervous, but then squeezed Ella's hand tightly as if to anchor herself. "What if it starts with us?" she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "What if talking brings us closer? It's better than fighting." Ella took a step toward the taller boy. "What if," she added, "we found a way to stand up, but together? What if we use this anger to change things instead of tearing each other apart?" The crowd murmured, uncertainty swirling like fog. Some nodded, others held tightly to their doubts. Hope and fear danced a delicate tango in the air. For every new voice, the shadows of resistance loomed, threatening the fragile bonds slowly forming. Then, just as the atmosphere swelled with anticipation, a boy named Marcus, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "I've seen anger drive people apart." His voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on. "But I've also seen it bring people together. My brother and I fought all the time until we sat down and talked it out. We're closer now." With that revelation, a ripple of understanding moved through the crowd. They could see past the gangly bodies and contentious labels to the humanity standing before them. Ella felt warmth growing deep in her chest. If Marcus could share his truth, perhaps others felt ready to do the same. "I always thought I had to be tough, you know," the stocky boy finally said, his voice a low rumble. "It felt like feelings made me weak. But maybe," he paused, glancing around. "Maybe I want to try this. Just once." A flicker of relief washed over Ella. It felt like they were wading through murky waters toward the light. She dared a smile, and the stocky boy returned it, the weight of their shared experience starting to bridge the gap between them. Just then, the crowd erupted with new voices. People were recounting stories of pain, yet there was laughter, too. Laughter that healed, laughter that connected. Their breaths mingled, a chorus of hope rising above the earlier strife. But just as Ella felt the swell of possibility in her heart, a chilling thought crossed her mind. What if this fragile connection shattered once again? What if someone couldn't let go of their anger, choosing to burn the moment they had built? As laughter bubbled and shared stories floated through the air, Ella's heart beat with intensity. Could they hold on to this moment? Or would it slip through their fingers like sand? Ella's gaze fixed on the stocky boy, her heart full of anticipation and dread at what might come next. Would they embrace the hard work of lasting connection? Or would they allow fear to drive a wedge between them once again? The murmur of the crowd swelled into a low hum, an undercurrent of shared vulnerability that wrapped around Ella like a warm embrace. As voices mingled and stories wove together, she could feel what seemed impossible starting to take root. Yet, the question lingered: was this tentative moment enough to keep them united? "Let us keep talking," Ella called out, raising her arms as if pulling everyone into the circle. "We've all felt pain, but we can also find strength in each other. Together." The stocky boy shifted, his expression softening as he processed her words. Ella caught his eye and felt a spark of hope ignite again. Was that a nod she saw? The laughter from the crowd blended with the quiet stories of heartbreak, weaving a fragile tapestry of understanding among them. "Okay." The girl beside Ella exclaimed, lifting her chin as if steeling herself for what was to come. "I'll start. Last year, I was bullied for being different. I thought about giving up, but then I met this amazing group of friends who accepted me for me." Her voice trembled slightly, but there was strength behind it. One by one, others opened up, each sharing a piece of their story. As each word flew out, the air grew lighter. The boy who had stood on the edge of the crowd stepped forward, the spark in his eyes flickering with recognition. "I never thought my football teammates would care. But when I got hurt, they sent me messages every day, just to check in. It blew my mind." A ripple of laughter and shared understanding spread through the crowd. The hard edges around their hearts began to soften as common threads of experience intertwined in a way they hadn't expected. "Why were we even fighting?" A girl in the back shouted, her voice rising above the others. "We're all just trying to figure it out. We care about what happens to each other. Why not help instead?" "Yes. Yes. Yes." The crowd erupted into cheers, and laughter broke through the earlier tension. But just as Ella allowed herself to bask in the moment, she saw the taller boy clenching his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. He had been strangely quiet since Marcus spoke, and a shadow crossed his face. "I don't know, guys." His voice was tense, frustration lacing each word. "This sounds nice, but it's not that simple. Some of us have real reasons to be angry." The laughter quieted, and all eyes turned towards him, sensing the weight of his discontent. Ella felt her heart drop. Their shared happiness was suddenly frail, as if it might shatter with just one word. But Ella started, searching for the right approach. She had seen walls built from anger before, and she didn't want to see them rise again. What if we turned our anger into something that empowers us, instead of pushing us apart? What if we found a way to acknowledge the hurt while also moving forward? He stood silent, gauging the response of the crowd. The tension churned in the air, thick and heavy once more. Ella's heart raced. How could she bring him into this moment? Could he see the potential for change? The crowd looked back, a wave of uncertainty rippling through the group. Would they allow one voice of doubt to push them back into darkness? Or could they rally around him, giving him the understanding and support he desperately needed? With the night stretching before them, Ella felt the crossroads looming. Either they would falter or ascend altogether. She took a breath, ready to reach out again, when a quiet voice broke through the silence. "Maybe we start with one more story," the stocky boy suggested, stepping forward. What if we heard him, really listen? The crowd shifted, ready to embrace whatever came next. Ella's pulse quickened, knowing this would be pivotal. Hope and fear grappled within her, but she leaned into the moment. Could this gathering withstand the storm brewing just beyond, or would it all unravel? The crowd settled as all eyes focused on the taller boy, who stood at the center of this swirling storm of emotions. Ella held her breath, sensing the weight of potential hanging in the air. He looked uncertain, yet there was something in his posture, something that spoke of the change this moment could breed. "Fine," he finally spoke, his voice carrying a mix of anger and vulnerability. "But don't expect me to just agree with you all. I've been hurt too." His honesty startled everyone into silence. Ella took a step closer, ready to absorb whatever truths he was about to share. "We're listening," she said gently, hoping to offer a safe space. "Tell us what has been weighing on you." He shifted, his fists loosening as he began. "Every day feels like a battle. People expect me to just take it, the looks, the comments, the fights. I can't just back down when it feels like the world is against me." Tension floated around him, but Ella could see the little cracks of honesty forming, maybe a bridge to deeper understanding. "Why don't we fight back? someone shouted from the crowd. Ella felt her heart sink, but she pushed through, determined to keep this conversation going. Because fighting doesn't solve anything. Ella interjected, her voice rising gradually. Look at us right now. We're learning from each other. Isn't that worth more than just throwing punches? The atmosphere shifted slightly. People whispered, nodding, considering the weight of her words. The taller boy hesitated, but applause rumbled in the crowd, hesitant but growing. It was a sign, a flicker of hope. Maybe, he said, his defenses lowering momentarily. Maybe it's hard to see anything else. But he glanced down at his feet, perhaps lost in thought. I realize I'm not the only one hurting. A warmth rippled through the crowd, as though they were collectively breathing in the wisdom taking shape. This exchange mattered. It mattered so much more than fists flying. I've seen friends like me thrown under the bus, he added slowly, frustration seeping back into his tone. It's exhausting. I can't keep pretending it's fine. But I don't want to keep doing this either. The raw honesty shifted the narrative. Ella sensed a turning point, the remaining darkness battling against the spark of hope, but people seemed unified behind empathy and understanding, now a shield against negativity. None of us are alone, a voice chimed in from the crowd, a girl Ella recognized from the school. We've all been through something. But hurt people hurt people. Yes. Several voices echoed back, a swell of agreement building. The taller boy nodded, feeling the palpable shift. Ella could see him softening. We don't have to be angry. I just don't know where to go from here, he admitted, vulnerability woven through the threads of his frustration. Ella stepped forward again, embracing the moment. What if we delve into this together? We know what we don't want, let us find out what we do want. Can we start with a simple agreement, no fighting, just talking? The crowd erupted in enthusiastic agreement, a chorus of yes. And let us do it. People began exchanging looks of shared determination, their earlier anger giving way to unexpected camaraderie. Mark stepped closer, standing at Ella's side, lifting his hand. Let us create a space where everyone feels heard. We can have regular meetups, where we talk and learn, not just about our differences, but about what binds us together as a community. The crowd started buzzing with excitement. They were building something together, a solid foundation of understanding. Ella's heart swelled as she gazed around. They were transforming from anger to empathy. This was truly the moment justice could flourish. Moments later, the stocky boy spoke up again. I'd like to help create that space. I'm tired of feeling so lost. If we can make it a safe place for all to be heard, I'll be in. Ella felt warmth wash over her, tears prickling in her eyes. We're stronger together, she said passionately, her voice steady. When one voice rises, we all rise together. The crowd erupted into applause. Joyful sounds of unity filling the air. Together, they had faced the storm and had come out on the other side. The laughter, the stories, the shared worries were all threads weaving into something beautiful. This was how communities grew, by learning from one another instead of letting anger divide them. As the crowd dispersed, Ella felt a sense of lightness in the air, an assurance that they could sustain this energy. She could see Sam and Maya racing toward her, their eyes sparkling. Did you see that, Mom? Sam exclaimed, pride swelling in his little chest. You helped everyone. Ella knelt down, wrapping her arms around her children, feeling the warmth of hope radiating from them. No, sweetie. We helped everyone. Together. As they hugged, Ella glanced at Mark across the park, both their hearts buoyant with what they had ignited in their community. They had sparked a flame of change, and she hoped that flame would burn brightly, illuminating the path forward. Let us do this, she whispered fervently. And from that day forth, Ella became a beacon of hope, forever entwined with Officer Mark and her community, a testament to the power of love, understanding, and transformation. The journey was long, but together, they would walk the path. That was their mission. And the world was ready to hear it. Now, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you to change the world. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for community values that matter. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. Don't wait not even one more second to share the light. Let us spread this message far and wide together. We can make a difference.